Hello. Blah, hello. I just tripped over my words. What are words? No, you know what? We're gonna use words. Let's just. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Encore. Day number one. The conclusion of day number one for that as well. We only have one more match remaining for the time being. It's going to be our lower bracket round number four. So this is make or break for the four players we will be following alongside for this final hour of today. But I am joined once again by G Geek to my left, to your right. Yeah, that's about right. Or vice versa, whatever it may be, left, right. This is how you check it, right? You just look at. I always do that when I'm in traffic. Make sure like, oh, this is my left, and
Yeah.
then
Although I've learned the hard way, and I still seem to forget every time because I keep relearning the hard way that whenever you point one way, it's the opposite way whenever it comes out of course on camera. So there you go.
yeah.
What is the left and right then? I
It's
even
over.
confuse left.
Oh,
Yeah. No,
yeah,
you were right the first time.
I
Yeah,
was
there you go.
right.
Yeah.
It's a
Do you see,
50-50.
we confuse left and right with pointing on camera, and I keep confusing my left and right sometimes whenever I actually cast, especially in French. It's very contagious to actually confuse your left and right whenever you're actually casting high pressure situation. But yeah, final round of the day, and it's going to be a bit of a doozy. It's Auris, Boz, Niko, and Hendo in there as well. Hendo, who of course we've seen at the beginning of the stream, at the very beginning of the bracket, round one of the winner bracket, who pretty much dominated his match at that stage. But yeah, there are quite a few broken hearts in that round of the lower bracket. I guess we can call it the round of the broken hearts because we've seen how heartbroken that must have been for Jan to get pipped at the very last round and for less than a tenth of a second at the line. I guess there's some people that are still reeling for that particular finish that we've seen, and even ourselves, we were still like asking the age-old question: how did Max Track pull through that? It was such a display of resilience that I'm just in absolute awe of the resilience of his lad. Absolute unit, absolute freaking unit. But yeah, it's going to be up to one of his teammates to actually try and fight for survival. This time, it's going to be a Niko, and they've done a very funny thing, but also very confusing for me because two of the team Ozer members have renamed themselves Nicola and Nicolas with either a C and a K. That's how you differentiate them. Niko with a K, Nicolas with a K is Niko, and Niko with the C is Nixobi. And I completely got them misconstrued when I was reading the match lineups. Whatever.
It's just, one of these things, right? Just make sure to confuse. I feel like today, I mean, from what we see, right? So now we have the Niko and Niko, we have the Alex and Alex, right? For that matter, I'm sure we have some more where we have some differences. I don't think we have Dutch. We have Dutch Jan. I don't think we have German Jan this time around, if I have seen that correctly. I don't know what it is about Trackmania and people just, it's the battle of the names to a certain extent, if you will, right? To make sure we confuse each and every one of us. I think, all remember the era where Elcons were everywhere with just different numbers and whatnot, as you do.
The good old days.
But yeah, I mean, definitely a matchup I'm very curious to look at. Interesting to note as well, brought to my attention, for those who may be in the know, bozbez, famous for playing with mouse, actually swapping over to pad. And has been doing so for quite a bit to make sure he is ready and prepared for, when these lands will be coming up. We'll be setting up as there are still quite a few upcoming, even though we are getting close to the end of this, season around the Trackmania World Tour. Even then, I do find it quite interesting to, for him to keep going for it, to keep going at it, especially in moments where it may matter the most, right? Where those points may come to be essential to get the placement done.
It's an interesting fine line to pick up and try to master another method of input and make it your daily driver as a method of input. But yeah, it's a bit more of a matter of maybe convenience in terms of setup times because I've been eyewitness to what it takes to set up his particular playing space when I was at the Comic-Con Baltics in Vilnius, and yeah, it is quite fiddly to set up. And when you get shared setups, when it's not a BYOC line and you've got all the setups that are kind of like split in between players, and then you have to have player rotations, that can actually be a little bit of a delay sometimes, maybe for TOs and stuff like that, that he doesn't really want to have to deal with. So Fair play, fair enough, and honestly, more power to him if he's able to actually master with the controller and pick the pace back up as he was able to do it with the mouse. And it seems as though I've seen a bit of chat in the game from Niko asking, saying, okay, well, controller seems to be going fairly well, and Boss was like, yeah, well enough. So it seems like it's not going so badly for the man from Team Blue Jays. As we are about T-minus 1 minute for the start of this lower bracket round 4 match then between Hendo, Auris, Niko, and bozbez. And what's going to be your prediction on this one? I'm thinking Boz should make it through, and Hendo as well. But I feel like Auris has got that drive that actually drove him pretty far in the quarterfinal we saw a little bit earlier. So I think it's going to be Boz, Hendo, but I think Auris is going to be giving him a run for his money. I would love to be proven wrong though by the man from Lithuania.
Oh, very much so. I mean, for me, I think bozbez I would put as one of my two, and because of that, I think the tenacious nature that Auris was able to show off does give me that confidence that he's not coming out of the match that we saw just now with his head held down. No, he's with his head held up. He knows that he is able to do it. He got 2 PBs on 2 different maps. I would be super stoked. I would be super happy. Yeah. What a way to get into the match. And I mean, we're about to get into it with our first map, Capital. As we get underway, it's just making sure we get everybody ready, situated. Off the line they go. But yeah, I do feel Auris for me is my second, and I would put Niko on my dark horse list, right? I think there is always that need, right, for that dark horse, for that one to pull, a bit of a fast one, throw the spanner into the works. Unfortunately, this round, he's not going to be able to really be part of the conversation, as we do have a 3-way fight underway between Hendo, bozbez, and Auris. And thus far, actually, Auris having some issues jumping into the dirt. Will fall behind a little bit and is being hunted down by Nicolas, who wants a couple more points for his buck, but is going to be unable for the time being to get past Auris. Manages to get past actually on the sauce block. Never mind, call me a liar if you will. For the time being though, Auris is managing to prove me right once again. Very much appreciated. Hendo at the same time though has been keeping bozbez away from that first place position. Unable to get past him, with Nicolas picking up that dirt a lot cleaner than Auris. It will be coming down to 3 points to Auris. A liar I am, but Hendo with the 10 pointers and a 56.9 will be quite happy about his performance right there.
Yeah, serene into the 56s, which is already nothing to scoff at. That's about half a second away from the current record, which is a .47 still at the time of this match going on. And Hendo trying to essentially show the same display of map control and round control that he has shown in the very beginning of the bracket. Although we do see 2 no slides before checkpoint 2. Both Niko and Hendo getting no slides at the exact same corner, exact same place on the track as well. And that is going to be promoting Boz into the lead of the race, but he gets the lineup all wrong for checkpoint 5 as Auris moves up into the lead. But also Auris again gets a little bit too wide and scrums up a bit too much speed, trying to get the car inscribed into the dirt banking. So Boz retakes the lead before checkpoint number 8, heading into the checkpoint third and final sector. Auris, that was way too sideways, heading into the double jump there. And that's definitely going to be condemning the Lithuanian for a permanent second place fixture. Meanwhile, Boz will be able to go one better than the previous round and take the 10-pointer for himself, get his match properly going with a 57.332 or 322 rather. Auris second, Hendo in P3 after the blunder from the very beginning, along with Niko, who rounds out the field and will only be picking 3 meager points for his efforts and drop down to last place.
Yeah, very much came out of nowhere. Both players, as you say, right, in the exact same position, making that mistake, very much caught everyone off guard. And it seemed like bozbez from that point on was pretty much scot-free and able to get in front of everyone. Auris for a little bit of time able to take the lead, but, going a bit too wide just isn't going to cut it as much as he would have liked. This time around, no such shenanigans thus far. Everybody making their way to the grass, setting up for the jump, and no casualties. looking a lot better. Auris losing a little bit of speed, jumping onto the dirt. Will drop down into third place. Niko will be chasing him down, looking for another overtake. He's been able to do it on round number 1. Is probably going to want to do it again, but at the same time, 4 points versus 3 points is not quite enough. Auris again with a little bit of an awkward jump right there. So that fight for third place will be raging on as Hendo and bozbez at the time pretty much side by side, driving in between one another. And when Hendo is there, bozbez seems to be just slightly outmatched. But again, to the line though, it is 300ths of a second with bozbez, a slightly better dirt line, able to get a bit more speed out of that turn, and with that 10 points going his way. But Hendo very much giving him his run for money, just keeping him honest, keeping him, you know, ever so focused and dialed in. But bozbez, great stuff right there, 10-pointer.
Yeah, great race between these two all throughout the round, and a great slingshot out of the final corner from bozbez to get himself just that little bit of an extra edge. And this time it's going to be Niko's turn to get sidelined at the very first set of hurdles, and it's going to be Boz this time around making a mistake at checkpoint number 3. Hendo taking the lead ahead of Auris, and that was a very unfortunate wall tap from the right rear of Boz's car in the dirt that really penalized him. And Auris, again, this seems to be very much a pain point of that track for him, and a bit of a pet peeve of this track for the Lithuanian from Team Split. That transition into the dirt before checkpoint 6 is where he loses a lot of time, and you can see the gaps have quite significantly widened. The only one not to have put a wheel in the wrong place at the wrong time is going to be Hendo, and look at the absolute gap that he has. He's definitely practicing social distancing, as is the rest of the field, because you can see the gaps are pretty significant between each and every driver. But Hendo closes it out with another sub 57 with a .995 to be precise. bozbez second, Niko in P3, and Auris in P4, and there we go. Hendo moving back up into not quite the lead of the race. He's going to be 2 points behind Boz, but definitely stamping his authority on the final round and saying, hey, I'm still there, and I'm still a contender for a Day 2 appearance.
Yeah, just making sure that he keeps himself in the race. 30 points, honestly, in the first 4 rounds. That is very much nothing to scoff at. Great stuff being done by him. bozbez, I think the only reason, right, he's been in the lead, it's really been due to Hendo's, you know, having those slight errors, right? Just that round 2, making him drop just a few too many points and is unable to get close to him. But at the same time, it does seem like bozbez and Hendo have quite the handle on it. Auris is just looking a little bit insecure, right? It doesn't look like the map was really going his way. Lineups not really ending up in the way where he wanted to end up in. We saw it a couple times on the drop down, also with the jump up from the dirt. And Niko at the moment, honestly, he's kind of struggling to swim along, right? He's in the pool right there, but everybody's running laps around him, and at the same time, he's just struggling to stay afloat.
Yeah, it doesn't seem like he actually has a footing in that particular pool that he's in, and it seems as though it could either get better or worse as we head on to map 2, which is going to be Kerberos' Livio. With one map being played, currently it is 32-30 for Boz and Hendo up front, with Auris in 16 points and 14 points for Niko, who's definitely been struggling. And yeah, as we've been alluding to, that round 2 is really what's enabled bozbez to retake the lead and to keep it at the end of map number 1, as we did see a big mistake from Auris right before checkpoint number 3's uphill double right-hander. And this is going to be a 3-way fight for the lead at the end of sector number 1, with Hendo rolling around the outside before the drop down into the ramp and taking the lead just a few milliseconds ahead of both Niko and bozbez. Niko trying to rejuvenate his challenge a little bit here, although he does get a little bit left behind at the exit of checkpoint number 8 and into the dirt of checkpoint number 9. So it's going to be an all-out BITM challenge between Boz and Hendo for the top spot and the 10 points that do come with it. And look at Boz trying to go a little bit aggro on the exit before checkpoint number 12. Great transition on the part of the man from Team Blue Jays right now, and the man from Team Evo is trying to retaliate with a bit of a more aggressive corner, but he goes a little bit too wide, forces to scrub off a little bit of speed on the outside. Still wheel-to-wheel racing. 26 milliseconds of an advantage at the split for Hendo, trying to go for the comeback at the line. It does not work for 16 milliseconds. Boz snatches the 10-pointer away from Hendo. Niko finishes in 3rd, and Auris, due to this early mistake in sector number 1, will be in P4.
Oh, what a finish, though. I mean, honestly, they, from the second half, drew. I mean, even earlier on, honestly, it's just been Hendo and bozbez pretty much side by side, following the exact same lines, the exact same, just, breakage and whatnot. It really came down to that final turn. That was the only time they decided to deviate from one another, as Niko and Auris both falter. It is once again bozbez and Hendo left to get the points. I mean, they're 60 points up for grabs at the top too, and thus far it's pretty much BITM reigning supreme, as Niko is just too far behind to really do something about the situation. So looking at the front, it is Hendo setting up the chase up against bozbez, looking for any space to get in between in front of him. Thus far, no such luck. Is going to have to try once again here on the dirt, perhaps get a bit more of an inside line. Gets a little bit closer, gets a bit closer as well to the wall to get the transition a bit earlier on, get the wheels on the ground just a tiny bit earlier on. Just anything he can do to make up for the gap, but bozbez is slapping him away at every single turn. Hendo also has to release on the finish, does make it in right before Niko, but I mean, that was too close to call. How did he do that?
Yeah, Auris didn't finish and doesn't score any points whatsoever. And Kim said once in the chat earlier on in the day that a no pointer can be devastating and very punishing in web development, but it's also very devastating in cup mode, because no pointer in a 100-point limit match. Yeah, that's just going to be kind of damaging. It's a good the solace in that is that he had enough of a gap to cushion the blow a little bit of that no pointer going his way, but he must not fall through the same trap again, Auris, if he wants to keep a challenge somewhat alive in terms of his chances of survival. In the meantime, round 3 out of 4 here on Lidio. It's going to be a bit more of a train forming up, with bozbez trying to pull away and detach the rest of the wagons from the main pull-up line, as he continues to try to go for the lead of the race. As I'm starting to fall out my words bit by bit, Hendo continuing to try and follow along by 0.2 of a second, but we do see Boz having a little bit of a different approach to that camber transition between checkpoints 12 and 13, still enabling himself to retain the lead, and a pretty sizable lead at that. Maybe a final last-ditch effort at the final corner for Hendo could make it work. Not quite, and still a very decent 0.3 time, a 0.355 for Boz. Hendo in second, Auris finishes in last place, just behind Niko. He caught up big time, but not enough to actually go for it. And Niko is starting to feel the heat a little bit. You guys don't see it, but he's acknowledging the pace on display by the top 2 frontrunners.
Yeah, I mean, I feel so bad for Auris right there. I mean, he has been able to match the pace for pretty much most of the round, and it came down to that final turn, right, where touching the wall on the inside, and with that also just losing out on that 3rd place by just what was it? I think a 1/10 of a second, if not even that. I think a couple hundredths.
Yeah, a couple hundreds.
Yeah, and it's really been another mistake from Auris. It's really not been his race thus far. Just the way he's been able to drive and able to match the pace as he was during the previous match. It seems like he put all his energy into that, and this time is unable to recuperate from that. So for the time being, we'll be in 4th place. But again, bozbez and Hendo, and bozbez keeps leading, keeps keeping that 1st place, keeps Hendo on a leash. And Hendo, all he can do is follow along and hope for any and all mistakes from bozbez, but he seems untouchable. Whether it's pad, whether it's mouse, it's going to be bozbez in 1st place on a 1 minute 0.1. He was untouchable for that round, and for good reason. With a time like that, I mean, who do you expect to get close to him there, really?
Yeah, no one is going to be able to quite keep up. And I knew from the gaps and from the pace that it was actually going into the last few sectors. I'm like, I don't know which time it's going to get, but it's going to be something special. I was wagering maybe a high to mid 0.2, and he drove one better, drove a high 0.1. He's absolutely insane on Lidio. And it's pretty much a picture-perfect map for him, because that puts him almost 3/4 of the way on his status at this stage in time, and enables him to pull a gap of almost 20 points on Hendo. So yeah, he has a lot of time to see his fellow countryman from Team Evo coming, and this is going to be quite the catching up effort to do for Hendo if he wants to actually battle for that somewhat higher seed in the lower bracket matches at the start of day number 2. Nothing can really come close to bozbez at this very moment in time. unless we can maybe see if he pushed too much and he has slightly overcooked it, and maybe a few chinks in the armor start to show up. Maybe, maybe not. As I usually like to say, and I've already said someone a little bit before on stream, anything can happen in Trackmania, and usually does. So we are not safe from any surprises, especially as we head on a pretty menacing track from Whiskey and Aziel.
There we go. Players are ready, set, and go on Menace. Just another 3-2-1 Tetris, as with the moment bozbez just leading the race, as you mentioned, right, by 20 points, 72 points for bozbez, 54 for Hendo, 30 for Niko, and 25 for Auris. I mean, again, we're not seeing the in-game chat thing, but I already saw some players say, "Get me out of here, let me go," right? It's like they're trapped in a rut or whatever it may be. But for the time being, it is a very, very tough match for Niko and Auris, as Auris, once again, with a mistake right there. But it is Nicolas at the moment in the lead, but it goes too wide. It is that little tight rope section right there, right? Get the drift along to make sure you don't drop too low, and unfortunately, he flew too close to the sun. Is going to have to drop all the way down into 4th place. Hendo, though, sees a golden opportunity right here to pick up 10 pointers of himself, but there is always bozbez looming behind, lurking behind, so you got to make sure your A game is on point. Makes their way through the hallway, no slowdowns whatsoever, and it's going to come down to that final third section. We have seen players be able to snipe just to jump to the left side of the finish. bozbez is going to have to try it, but unfortunately got closer, but not close enough. Hendo with the 10 pointers right there, hundredths of a second between the two, and with that, Hendo does make up the gap by a little bit, but even then, it's bozbez on 78 points.
Yeah, still a healthy gap for bozbez to see Hendo coming, as I was alluding to in the pre-map warm-up that we had a little bit earlier on. But yeah, very great race between both Hendo and bozbez. And in the previous round, yeah, Niko going a little bit too wide into the tight rope section and jumping over the other side of the road. It kind of reminds me of Vitaly Petrov at the 2011 Malaysian Grand Prix, where he skidded across the grass and ended up jumping over a little bit of a grass swamp and then landed back on the racetrack, and in the end his steering column broke. Very unfortunate way to retire that way, but he had a pretty solid inches of 0G flying, so that's pretty cool. In the meantime, Auris, unfortunately, the first man to make a mistake, will be left behind quite significantly. 1 second down on the infernal trio of Boz, Hendo, and Niko at the moment. It's going to be Boz moving on the attack, trying to dislodge Hendo from that first place, but Hendo is not giving up without a fight, continuing to be within the ghost of Boz, and Niko making it a very interesting, again, 3-way fight for the lead, manages to avoid barely the outside wall on that little pinch in the road before checkpoint number 11, and Niko trying to go for the push to dislodge Hendo from first place. Hendo continues to resist, and it's going to be a slight touch from Niko, forcing him to take the risky fin. No, safe fin, he's forced to respawn. He could have taken the safe fin. Why did you do this? Hendo does take first place, second place for Boz, third place for Auris. Oh my god, what are you doing, Niko?
It just, he had it, right? It's one of those situations where you have it, and maybe, you know, as you say, right, that hating to lose, that win, just not wanting to win, whatever it may be, something in the back of his mind, whether it's, you know, the way he may be controlling his fingers, just deciding, you know what, nah, I'm good. We're not doing that. And it's usually those types of things where you most likely know the mistake. You know when it's happening. You've done it, but there's nothing you can do. It's seeing a crash and fall before your very eyes, before it even happens. And that was a situation where Nicolas was very much finding himself. And this time around, not as much in the lead as he was during that previous round. It's going to be bozbez taking the reins. Hendo and Auris right behind, and Niko stuck in 4th place, looking for any space to get by. Auris also just wanting some more points to get out of it, but the hallway will be the place where we see some things happen. Nicolas actually falling behind it. Hendo and bozbez left to fend for those 10 pointers, and Hendo has the lead by about a 10th of a second. Needs to hold on to it, needs to make sure he doesn't lose too much speed on this turn around the dirt, keeps the lead, will jump through, and with that 8-8-8, it's going to be a 10-pointer for Hendo. bozbez set to get into finalists, needs a first place with him getting into 90 points. Hendo on 84. Look at the gap between first, second, third, and fourth. They're pretty much doubling what Nicolas and Auris are doing.
Yeah, that is pretty much, that is very important to point out. Although, I gotta say, I was following the perspective of Hendo on that final sector, and come checkpoint 9, he was going very wide, but he got the grip at the very last minute to actually get as much speed as he could while avoiding to touch the pole with the left rear. I gotta say, he applied the wise words of one Daniel Ricciardo, as we do see a huge mistake from Hendo, forced to respawn. Such a shame. I was gonna say he applied the wise words of one Daniel Ricciardo, who once said, sometimes you just gotta lick the stamp and send it, and he sent it on round 3, and he sent it a little bit too hard on round number 4, allowing bozbez to enjoy a sizable gap of half a second compared to Auris. Then Niko in 3rd position, continuing to try and find an aperture to force Auris into a mistake and grab a few extra points maybe, but Boz is completely focused in his lane, undisturbed. He might be listening to some Apex Twin right now because he is very much liking to this particular focusing state of mind that he is in. Auris, unfortunately for him, has dripped out of the building and dropped out of 2nd place, finishes in 3rd in the very end. 101.622 for Boz at the end of this particular round. Niko 2nd, Auris and Hendo in that order 3rd and 4th. And finally, status for Boz as we're going to be heading up to our next map. And yeah, this comes in a pretty, it's either a blessing or a curse to get the finalist right as we switch to a map. It's either, oh, sick, it's a map where I've actually felt comfortable. Let's go, I can finish round 1, 2.
Yeah. It's very much, give or take in that regard. Obviously, which map is coming up. But at the same time, you already are in the rhythm of things. You already know what you need to do to win. You've pretty much, calculated the situation. You know what the pace is that's being set up by everyone. And you're in the moment. You're in the zone. Now, once again, you have a warm-up. You need to get ready, get reacquainted. But I think a player like bozbez, he's not going to be too worried about that. He's been in this situation many, many times before, and he's been able to make that go in his favor quite a lot of those times as well. Hendo on 87 points. I don't think he'll be too worried about the situation thus far. Nicolas and Auris 45-41. He just needs a couple more points and he'll be fine.
Surely we won't get a max track like comeback. Surely.
Who's Shirley?
All right, I guess it's time, high time that we actually go to our racetrack, and it's going to be a throwback to BIPC2, and maybe not a mobile game, but it's definitely going to be quite crushing the candy. Come and set me free. Come and set me free. So here we are then, the red trigram very much visible on the dark blue tone of the back of the car from bozbez. 1 round is all it takes to guarantee that spot into day 2 of Encore, and he's going to have to fend off his fiercest opponent so far, Hendo, who's going to be coming back at him at checkpoint number 4 to take the lead just afterwards by just 3 milliseconds. It was Boz first at the split with checkpoint 5. It is definitely going to be the man from Team Evo taking to the lead with a 59 millisecond advantage into checkpoint number 6. Auris continuing to try and catch up to the leading duo from BITM. It's going to be a very, very tough task, though, and it's set to be getting harder and harder as time goes on and as checkpoints go on, as Boz tries to find a little bit of an aperture compared to Hendo. We do see Boz again going for the very, very aggressive inside line, but it does not really pay off. It's going to be Hendo still retaining the lead, but briefly, as Boz this time makes the charge for the lead, but goes too wide on the final corner, and Hendo takes the win with a .515. Boz gets denied for 47 milliseconds. Auris does take to the line in 3rd. Niko does reach the finish line in P4. We might be set for a double finalist here by the look of things if Hendo's able to keep up that level of round control and fend off the last few attacks of bozbez. This could very well be on the cards, as unfortunately for Auris, we had a little bit of a nibble of the wall inside turn number 2.
Yeah, I mean, I already saw the Wolves coming in, chat, and I'm sure Wolves will be chanting out loud. I mean, Hendo is already in a very good position in the match thus far. Unfortunate touch right there on the wall will mean that bozbez is pretty much left to take the win. He just needs to make sure he drives the track, but even then, Hendo was so close to perhaps stopping that first place from bozbez and perhaps, showing Wolves number 1. Unfortunately, doesn't look like this round's going to be it. It would take a monumental mistake from bozbez right now to throw away this advantage that he has. He can take it easy on quite a lot of these turns. 0.7 of a second ahead as he just has the final few turns to left to close it out and make sure he positions himself in lower bracket. Round number 5 goes in for the jump, and there we go. It'll be our Blue Jays player moving on to the next round, and with that, we only have one more spot remaining for these 3 players to decide who will move on and who will be eliminated.
Yeah, and next up to step up to the plate is going to be Hendo on round 3 out of the 4 potentially being played here on Candy Crush. And yeah, this time you can see that the trigram, whilst it can be shown on the shadows, it is blending a little bit more smoothly maybe with the kind of topographical pattern of the Evo skin. But right now he's going to be embroiled in that top 3 fight with Niko and Auris by his side. And it's going to be the man from Evo, the finalist status player, who's going to be the first man to falter with the right. We are coming in with a little bit of a hug to the pole before checkpoint number 3. So it's going to be Auris and Niko battling for first and second. Well, I say battling. It's not exactly a battle that's on at this point in time anyway, with Auris having a gap of a 10.5 to 2 tenths compared to the Frenchman from Team Oserve. It's going to be pretty much just a matter of managing that gap all the way until the end and not put the foot wrong, not put a wheel in any places where it should not be. For instance, not too far on the inside to avoid a clip on this particular plastic part, and try to get the placement of the car just right to navigate those last few difficulties in checkpoints 10 and 11, and of course having enough speed for the speed check jump in the finish. And it's a .502 for Auris, who clears all those obstacles just right, ticks all the boxes, and moves past the 50-point mark just like this.
Auris right there driving a PB once again. It seems like the moment Auris starts driving PBs, you need to be concerned if you're in finalist mode, because I don't know what it is. It seems like the moment we have our first finalist coming in and in winner, all right, great. Now the gloves are off. Now the weights are down, right? It's pretty much all bets on whoever you wish to make it happen. Make sure the copium is flowing as richly as it is this time around, though. Hendo, no close encounters with any poles thus far, and it is Auris and Nicolas for now having to chase him down. Auris actually losing the pace right there on the dirt. Will have to fall behind. Is behind by about 0.2 of a second right now. It's only Niko able to defend this match and defend his position in this tournament thus far, but starting to lose more pace, starting to fall behind, seeing Hendo disappear in front of him. He's going faster and faster, and it doesn't look like Niko or Auris has any answer for the time being. Gonna have to hope for any and all mistakes, but there's only a few turns remaining. Hendo setting up for the final jump, heading into the finish line, and there we go. They fought valiantly, they fought hard, but unfortunately, it is going to be British, Irish, Trackmania League players, I suppose, for that matter, moving on as Auris and Nicolas are unfortunately eliminated from Encore with this this ending right here. It's been a tough match for them, honestly.
Yeah. It's a tough proposition whenever you face off against Hendo, who's shown some very, very solid performances, and Boss, which we already know how he plays, and he's shown that no matter if he plays with a mouse or a pad, he's able to pick up the pieces and able to actually get the pace where he needs to get it at as soon as possible. And at first we thought that it might be Hendo that could have in with a little bit of an advantage, but over the course of the first maybe 3 maps, it was Boss that really stamped his own mark on this match and was able to take advantage of maybe a few slip-ups from Hendo to really get himself the proper lead that he had, and able to get himself into a little bit of cruise control mode in a sense. He could afford to see the gap shrink back up, knowing that he still had maybe 1 or 2 rounds tops of uninterrupted attempts to actually conclude finalist status, and even though he got denied, that was only a temporary setback. And thankfully for Hendo, it was also only a temporary setback, which is more than can be said for some other players throughout the day.
Yeah, for a second there was
not
like,
naming any
is
names,
this actually happening? No, we would never do something like that. But it was very much, you know, 1 round already going that way. It was 1 mistake. So as long as you recover from that, right? As long as you are, you know, reset your mentality, say, okay, we'll just take them next round. We'll be fine. There's plenty of time for me to get to it. That's pretty much what he did. He did what he needed to do, what he did throughout most of the match, how he was challenging bozbez with the exact same pace, exact same gusto. And with that, deserved moving on to the next round. But yeah, it does mean we're going to have to say goodbye to Nicolas and Auris right at the end of day 1 as well. Yeah. I mean, that's gotta hurt, right? You're just so close to making it through to get into day 2, and then
I haven't spoken to. I think I should have spoken to Auris, but I figure he would have loved to have made it through the hurdles of day one, and just to get just shy of that. He really gave it his all. So I
Oh yeah,
think even
definitely.
I mean people celebrate the winners, and well, I mean it's a known thing to do. It makes sense, but I think
Yeah.
we should also celebrate those who actually gave it their all, because not only in this match with Niko and with Auris, but also I guess in the other matches with Max Strike, which had such a never give up mentality. I was sure he was gonna get sent out, but he managed to pull through. So really, it's kind of resilience on that, and the spirit of competition that still lives in pretty much every single player that there is. So give a round of applause, no matter what, for those that have valiantly tried, may have fallen, but it was not in vain. And I hope that they actually took pleasure in their matches that they actually played today.
Definitely. I mean, I enjoyed the two matches that we have seen thus far, for that matter, as well. And I'm sure that everybody who has been watching along feels the same way. I, for one, am looking forward to what is coming in on day number 2. I'm not quite sure if we have anything else left on the schedule for the time being, as this was our final match. But it does look like we're going to have a short interview with Hendo at the moment, who will be joining us in just a little bit to, recount perhaps his experiences and tribulations thus far throughout the match. And I'm very curious to see what he has to say about all that. But we'll be waiting for him just a little bit. It does seem, I did see it in chat. I see you guys. I read you guys. Match 4 is still going. Very curious to see. I'm hoping Yum will make it through, but from what I hear, it's a close one right there. But yeah, for here, we'll be waiting for Hendo to just come on in whenever he's ready.
Yeah, exactly. Giving us a little bit of opportunity to ask him how his day one, of course, has gone, and how he was feeling over the course of the match, where he might have had a few setbacks compared to the plan of attack that me might have actually had versus Boz. But yeah, I'm kind of looking forward, and if you don't mind, I think I'll be the one to
Sure.
actually ask the first question, because I've
Go
never
for
really
it.
been that kind of forthcoming. But as soon as we finish talking about that, here is the man himself, Hendo. First of all, congratulations for making it onto day 2 of Encore. I guess gave us a little bit of a recount of how you felt throughout the match, because it feels like there was maybe a little bit of a promising start, but then maybe a few setbacks along the way before you managed to secure that P2 finish.
Yeah, I mean, Boz was just consistently fast. It wasn't like blisteringly fast, but he was like consistently fast. And I think he got like halfway through the match where it was like a 30-point gap to third. So it's fine. Just drive. If it wins the round, it wins the round. If it's 0.1 behind Boz, it's 0.1 behind Boz. Should be fine. So just drive. But yeah, I don't think. Nothing. Niko's obviously like he's on wheel, isn't he? I think he's just switched.
Yeah.
I think Auris. I think he PB'd on Candy in rounds, so I don't think he pracked that much, to be fair. But yeah, I think I just wanted day 2, so I'm a happy boy.
Yeah,
All right. Well, I guess it's your side of the bargain done. Hey, there he is. But yeah, this is. I guess. At what point did you think that? At what point did you think in the day that you realistically thought, okay, maybe it's not going to be as clear cut as it was? Because of course, I was only the only other match I saw of you was upper bracket round 1. Of course, round 1 being what it is, it was. Yeah. I'm guessing it was pretty much smooth sailing. But what was the turning point where you said, okay, maybe it's where it's starting to get a little bit thicker in the consistency a little bit?
It was probably that round, to be honest. It was probably that one where it was. Yeah, because I was looking at the bracket and being like, how is this going to line up? Because it was like, I know Niko's good, but I know he's on wheel. I don't know how that's going to go. I know Auris is good. I don't know how Practi is. I know Boz very well. Boz is going to be good. Mm-hmm. And obviously I lost to Boz in the second round. Was it second round? Yeah, it was second round. Got a max strike and a Boz in the second round, which was like, go.
I mean, I guess I do have one question. Were there like any players that really that kind of caught you off guard in the sort of pace and the promise that they showed on live runs when they played against you?
That's a good question. No, I'm gonna say everyone played exactly how expected.
Okay.
Apart from, I think Auris, I was expecting more from Auris, but I don't think he was that pracked, like I said.
Yeah, it could be.
But I think there's no one really that's been like, you're playing really well. And I wasn't expecting you to yet. I think it looks pretty much how I expected it to. At least the bracket at the moment. Hello, dog.
Yeah, Doggo just getting a little bit of a pat there, and I think that's my part for questions. And Bonnie, I'll just let you take over.
Yeah, I think I'll get to day 2 in just a little bit, but I'm just curious to hear how your day 1, in your opinion, went. Are you happy with the way it progressed, considering the matches that you have? I personally haven't been able to see it, so I'm just very curious to hear you regale the journey that you have taken to get to this point, to get to day 2, and
Fuck.
you know,
Okay, journey. Match
yeah,
one.
yeah.
Nyar and
Hero's
Niko.
journey, if you will.
Nyar and Niko. I've played Nyar a million times. I knew kind of what to expect from Nyar. Can be quite fast. Can be quite crashy. Niko had no idea what to expect. I don't think he's very pracked. Because Niko's a really good player. And then I played Boz and Max Track, which was a sick match. I think we was triple finalist. And it was Boz won a round, Boz won finalist, Boz won a round. And we was triple finalist at one point. And then I played, guess what? I played Nya and Niko again. Plus one other guy. I think it was the Paku guy.
Well, hang on. I'm gonna check in the bracket actually.
Okay. We got the Lord before.
Okay, hang on.
Pecunia
Pecunia Dest. Yeah, that was it.
That was. I knew to expect that was going to be exactly. It was the same as the first match, to be honest. And I think Nya played well both times. So happy for Nya. There. And then it was this match.
Yeah. I think you're pretty much there.
And that's it.
I mean, what a journey. I mean, honestly, you're looking very, very good for day number 2. I think I think you should already be able to know, who you're playing against.
I think I know.
Oh,
that's
Broly, I'm my boy GoPro. GoPro type 1.
That is a
That'll be a fun match.
That one's rough.
That's a
but
fun
I mean, you're gonna win, right? You're gonna win, right? Like that's my question. You're gonna win, right?
Easy.
Yeah. Well, there you go. No, I don't know if in terms of like goals, if you usually set goals, you just go into it. No, I'm just gonna come in to win. I mean, from what I can tell, right? You're aware of the how players are, where they're at in terms of skill, whether they are good if they're pracked, whether they're not good if they're pracked or not pracked enough, right? Because some players are just very good at just learning on the fly, and they'll fly by you, even if they have only played like a map like 15 minutes. Give them enough time in a tournament, and before you know it, they'll outpace everyone. But in terms of goals and whatnot, going into day number 2, was that pretty much the goal for you? Or are you saying, no, I am looking way past that. I still want that spot in the grand final, still want that win. Where do you see your...
I mean, that's a hard match.
Yeah.
That's a hard match.
You can also just take it one match at a time. I don't think that's unfair at all.
I mean, that's a hard match. I think if I'm realistic, getting out of that is probably as far as it goes. But what can you do? I wasn't really ever in this to win it. Was never going to win it, let's be real. It was very much a, hey, we played UK and Ireland Cup match on these like last week. May as well play.
Yeah, sure,
I know the maps.
Keep it going.
I know the maps.
Encore, if you will.
We're still hot off the press. We got the maps in the fingers. Why not just make the most out of it? That's I totally get what you're coming from.
Yeah, and I think as well, like I was super like not motivated for this week to the point where I literally booted the maps for 15 minutes each last night, and about 5 minutes each before seeding. So I mean, hopefully it gets stronger as it goes. I feel faster than I did last week, weirdly. But I feel more crashy. But I think that's just a warmness thing.
Yeah, just a little bit of things to dial in, just as you get yourself settled into the groove. Yeah.
Yeah, pretty much.
Oh, fair enough. I mean, that's all the questions for me. I think we're pretty much there. I think we're pretty much done at this. So thank you for your time, Hendo, and obviously enjoy your second position. You're moving on to day number 2, and best of luck with your match tomorrow and preparing for it. It's going to be a tough one, but I think with how you were playing today, very much have an opportunity to make it true.
We take it.
We take it. Just one question before. Just one question before we actually let you over. Who? I know this might be a little bit of a tough one given the level of some of the players, but who do you think is going to make it to the grand final, and who's going to be the one to win it all here?
Wizzy's winning it.
Wizzy's winning it. Who else is left? We got Miku, Coco, Jade on an upper bracket, my boy. We got Razzie, Thomas Jeans, Binks, Max Track. I'm gonna go Wizzy, Maquattro, Coco, Binks in that order. Nah, I'm gonna go Thomas Jeans. Thomas Jeans fourth. Thomas Jeans fourth.
Oh, okay. We're never settled in here in this prediction. Ooh, very much floating about, but Wizzy has a win. Okay, that's okay. I mean, well, we're taking you for your word. Then we're locking that in. But yeah, thank you very much for your time again. Congratulations for making it to day 2. Enjoy the rest of your day, and yeah, hopefully we'll get to see you perform again tomorrow.
No problemo.
All right, have a good one.
See you later, man.
All right, that's the interview with Hendo, second place in that particular match, and I think all the matches are indeed done, so we can actually get a little bit of a riff around for the other results. So, of course, we saw bozbez win. You saw on this stream bozbez win with Hendo getting P2, that's eliminating Auris on 64 points, and Niko on 62 points. On second matchup, it was Copro who indeed finished in P1, with Poopor finishing in second place, Key getting eliminated as he reached finalist status, and Timmy's did get P4, but with the nicest score available, of course, 69 points, as it is, of course, the case. Then match number 3, it was a 3. Well, it was Broly actually took the win ahead of Killian. Snoppy getting eliminated once again as finalist status, and Kozer finishing 4th with 90 points. And on the 4th and final server, it was a Crows taking the win ahead of Jan, with Nathan finishing on 99 points. That's so painful. 4th place was nobody on 70 points, but I gotta feel for the Belgian player.
Just so little, just that singular point, right? And it just came down to like one round. It could have just been that one round.
If you want to get the BITM L emote, you can do it now if you want to.
But yeah, with that result coming in, I'm very curious to see on what coming in tomorrow. I mean, I myself will be supporting Mikatro and Jan for getting into grand finals myself, and would love to see either of them take the win. But that is just me as a biased commentator here.
I think we'll return to. Well, I think we'll go back to our status as basically just fans of the game, fans of racing, and somewhat biased fans of racing. And I think you can see it by the shirt that I'm wearing. I'm definitely you definitely know on which side I'm on, and see whatever French player actually is able to make it through to the rest of the day. But I digress. But that is going to be it for day 1 of Encore, and that's going to be it from us. We're just going to be sitting back, relaxing, hopefully, and enjoying the rest of the matches. But there's maybe a chance that you might see some of us pop up here and there in case there is an emergency somewhere. But it's going to be pretty interesting. And the day of Trackmania Sports is going to be very interesting between day 2 of Encore and of course in the morning the rest of the World Finals, which is going to be determining who's going to join OTAC, who's the first player to join OTAC at the Paris Games Week on October 25th, and that's going to be very, very exciting. Either way, that's going to be it from us here on the British Irish TM channel for day 1 of Encore. I've been Jiggy. This has been Boney C. Much love, be kind, stay safe, and until next time, Godspeed, people.